Hello, hello, hello. We must project our voices.
How is the familia doing today? Our faces have been absent for a little while, pero mi gente, we're here, okay?
We're here with little sun kissed. Part of it is that we've been doing duties, family duties, and community duties. You know, we were being good, proactive community members. We went up to Albany with what we have collectively called Maha New York, the medical freedom activists who have been boots on the ground, not just since around 2020, but some of them for over 20 years. Like,
Very impressive stuff, very impressive people. We've learned a lot just by being around so many of them.
so Alex, how have you been? Do you miss doing these happy hours? I realized that I do miss recording this with you. I have fun. I love reading the comments, and I love also sharing a little meal at one of our favorite places in Brooklyn with the family that comes through to support.
Yes. Um, well, first of all, I'd like to say a shout out to all military serving this country because, we recognize you, okay, and we thank you.
Yes,
Este,
thank
to
you.
you and to all of your loved ones. Um, but to answer your question, I've missed it too. The last couple weeks. I realized because we were doing it already for enough weeks, it was beginning to become such a, you know, familiar part of the week, something that I'm looking forward to and gaining such beautiful experience every time. So I definitely was missing all of you, missing being here, missing this time my sister. Oh my gosh, she got close to me.
Because I realized that my microphone is here, and my sister
God.
tends to speak a little lower than me, and I'm the big mouth.
I wonder if she's silently suffering because she has to be this close to me.
There has been some great things that COVID brought us, and that was social distancing. I mean that in jest. I didn't really love the social distancing, but there are some community members that some of them are too far apart, and some of them are just so in your space they don't give you room to even think your own thoughts. I think that's just a little too close sometimes.
A little too much.
A little too
Those
much.
behaviors are a little bit too much. And in the society that we live in, we've all developed in these modern days a little bit too much behaviors and habits that we have to really start facing, addressing, and hopefully stopping or harmonizing.
And course correcting. You know, while we've been away, we have been working and like doing like pre-production work and coming up with topics that we wanted to bring you. And one of them, which we want to chat with you today, is a habit that many of us, if you didn't have it during COVID, it became a thing. And that's, do you know what this is the symbol for? Doom scrolling.
You want to tell us what doom scrolling is for anyone in the house that may not know what that is?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'd like to give credit to the writer of this article.
Give credit to the creditors.
I'm going to give credit to the creditors. Source breakbrainrot.com.
Dios mío.
So, breaking free current doom scrolling trends and shocking statistics. This is a very short article, but if you want to follow along with us, you could go to breakbrainrot.com. So to answer Alex's question, what is doom scrolling? Doom scrolling, every swipe, scroll, and refresh keeps us tethered to an endless stream of information, often at the cost of our mental health. But just how pervasive is the habit of doom scrolling? I don't know why I keep saying droom. making up a hip hop word, but pretty much that's like when
Drone.
you're like on YouTube or on Instagram and you're just swiping up, swiping up, swiping up, swiping up. And sometimes you don't realize that you've been swiping up for hours. Um, so, in the recent years, this compulsive practice of consuming, according to the article, negative news has become a defining trait of our digital consumption habits. From heightened anxiety to strained focus, the impact of endless scrolling on mental well being is undeniable. So, community members, have you fallen victim of the endless doom scrolling, and do you do it, Alex?
I would say that I'm going to say, of course, and I would say that everyone has fallen victim to that to some degree or the other. And I'm sorry, but if somebody would ever look at me and say that they don't or have never, I would be like,
Naughty, naughty.
because if you really think about it, like our whole society has now revolved around some sort of scrolling. Like we're always like, if you I mean, everything revolves around scrolling. You do your online shopping, what are you doing? Scrolling. Whether it's food,
Yeah.
clothing, accessories, whatever you're going for. I mean, for the love of God, when you're shopping for a date on these apps, what are you doing? Scrolling. Like, or whether you're wasting time.
Wait, I
looking
have
for
to
videos.
ask you, shopping for clothes to go on a date or shopping to find
Oh,
a
for
date?
people,
Oh,
because now that's what I feel like it's gotten so cheapened to some degree, where you're just going like this, like she like literally, it's like, oh, I mean, the person gets a total of what, half a second of your time, maybe. How quickly does it
Oh
take
yeah, the
you?
little swipe.
The
Oh
little
yeah, that's
swipe.
like the swipe.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
it's
little
like
bit different, right? I mean, not that I know,
it's like
because I've
swipe.
never been on those
Me
apps.
neither,
It's
but
what I hear them
it's
say.
the same thing. Swipe, scrolling, it's become compulsive. We're almost like, and because it's so compulsive, we're not even really present when we're doing most of these things. It's just so automatic. But I think that we've gotten to the other extreme, where we've become so automatic with so many of these things that, you know, how conscious are you in what you're doing, what you're internalizing, what you're spending your time in. I mean, I know sometimes I catch myself when I'm doing this, and then 20 minutes have gone by and I'm literally like, what? Like, I'm literally screaming at myself, what am I fucking doing? I just lost 30 minutes doing what? What did I do? you know
And to be fair, sometimes I find myself doing that intentionally, like, and I have to also admit that I find myself doing this little habit more so in 2025. I think there's a part of my psyche, my body, my overall being that just got just completely, when you drink one thing too much and then you're just, I just can't even look at it. It twists your stomach. And it's not because you don't like this tasting drink. You just overdone done it. Some people have that with food.
yeah.
So that's how I feel a little bit about just what we do day to day, what our platform has become. It was so much politics, so much medical freedom. Sometimes we choose to cover certain things, and sometimes, many times, it gets sort of chosen for us, I guess, in the way the times dictate what's happening and what we have had access to. It's almost like God was saying, muchachitas, it's right in front of you. As a matter of fact, that was actually one of the messages. I pulled out a little card. We brought it to share with some friends. It's a rock and roll deck, right? It's just like you pull a card just for fun. And the message was, see the signs, right? There's signs everywhere. They're always right in front of us. And oftentimes we see what's relatable to whatever we're thinking about or energizing. So it kind of does, there's a lot of layering to this, I guess.
Yeah, no, and actually, if you go into our channel, the Perez Sisters, you will see that we've chatted about this very topic even just what, a month ago.
Oh, yeah,
where
yeah.
We were just literally just talking about paying attention to, there's no such thing as coincidence
Mm-hmm.
ever. Like everything means something, or confirming something, or trying to get your attention for something. You just gotta pay attention, you know.
You got to pay attention. And when we're doom scrolling, how much attention are we really paying to whatever the action is? As we have admitted ourselves, sometimes a half an hour or hours are passing by and we're like, oh my God.
Like, oh my
Now,
heavens.
now I have to say that sometimes on YouTube, I'm doing the little scrolling and it takes me to topics and people and content creators that I would have never met. Sometimes like I'll go down like a rabbit hole of like comedy, or sometimes bochinche, or sometimes just creators talking about fashion. Nothing I ever listened to on a day to day, but it's been refreshing to have new things to 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 contemplate. I guess the problem is when we overdo it, and then there's all these to do things on all of our lists, and we're looking at how our day has been spent. Where have you put so much time? That half an hour doom scrolling, if you're doing that every day.
Well, you know, because you bring up a good point. You know, like the truth is that we do get, I mean, information, so much information on so many of these platforms, and not all of it is bad. Some of it is has been so necessary, and I'm so grateful for it because you know, I myself, I do very similar things. Like when I'm scrolling, I'm usually looking at things that interest me, like different parts of me. It could be, I mean, it could be anything from baking to homesteading to like, you know, recipes to just, you know, like just different lifestyles to going down the rabbit holes, you know, like, and you know, I feel like so many people around the world, and especially during COVID, a lot of the scrolling that happened for a lot of people was also them learning, trying to put their attention and focus on something to help them navigate what was going on. So I know
Right.
that it served a purpose for a lot of people. It gave people anything from entertainment to feeling informed, even to grounding, you know.
Right.
It's just that
Or
to
just a
your,
little distraction, because when your present moment is so stressful as COVID was for everyone, having a little break, a mind break, can be healthy.
it's good, yeah.
And in that sense, I'm going to add a new word to the Urban Dictionary. Doom scrolling could be bloom scrolling. So if you're learning a new recipe, that's almost like a planting of a seed, right?
Yeah,
So how many
absolutely.
people, like you were telling me the other day, that some of the youngsters are learning and trying new things because they're watching the TikTok version of a recipe that's so quick, and they're learning shortcuts. But guess what's happening? A generation that has been criticized of not being in the kitchen or not having a lot of the finessing in things like that, they're blooming because they're learning something new. So with everything that we cover, there's always a way that you can use something to your benefit. So to just continue, what is doom scrolling? The act of compulsively consuming an endless stream, right? The science behind it. According to this article, right, neurologically speaking, doom scrolling exploits our brain's natural negativity bias. We're hardwired to pay more attention to negative information as a survival mechanism. However, prolonged exposure to distressing news overloads our cognitive function, leading to increased stress, decreased productivity. Studies show that this behavior can heavily disrupt our mental equilibrium, leaving us trapped in a cycle of anxiety and compulsive checking. I'm guilty of doing compulsive checking. I wish and I want to improve on being better at breaking that compulsive checking habit.
And I feel like if you look at
Speak
the
a little
levels
louder.
of anxiety that and you know, obsessiveness that we see in so many variations, you know, these platforms have directly contributed to that. It has. You know, there's a real physiological science to the way they were created for a reason. Like none of this is new information. All these platforms knew what they were doing when they were being put out. They knew they were going to target that part of the brain that was going to be hook you, right? And if you really think about it, like, you know what this reminds me of too, like how they were you know, trying to really like appeal to that part of our brain. You know, it's the same thing with mainstream media, you know, fake news media. Like before even social media was kind of a big thing, what were they doing? What has, for the most part, news has been, it's been always negative. It's always appealing to that part of us, you know. So it's almost like this kind of did the same thing and just exploded to like stereotypical insane levels, you know.
Great point, because we were doom watching during the great 2020 era, right? Current trends. I don't know if you want to read any
Let
of
me
it.
see. Yeah, I would just say, you know, I agree. Doom scrolling is not confined to a single demographic. I feel like, you know, I think the difference between the ages is that the younger folks have nothing to compare it to. Like, we literally have young generations that have known nothing but scrolling and gadgets. That's
Right.
their whole life. Whereas middle and upper generations, they can maybe they remember both, you know, a time when it was simpler where these none of these things existed, and now they're in the reality of what it is today. And then of course the much older generations and those people that just refuse to be a part of any of this. And so I do feel that while it has affected everyone across all ages and platforms and lifestyles, those would be to me one of the major differences when it comes to the younger babies, right?
And this is why we keep being squeaky wheels to remind you that it's good to activate a habit where you're getting out, whether or not you have a buddy to go out with, right? Like my sister and I have moments like here where we're celebrating with others, but we also love to go to a restaurant alone and have that experience. You never know, like you could sit by the bar, you start talking to people, like say during a happy hour, right? You can meet people that way, and I'm not saying just romantically, I'm just saying as a friend, they're like friends, right? Like
Yeah.
we have an indoor generation that needs to be more outside, and we have a lonely epidemic.
And you know, I just want to say, like, for those of you who are like, hell no, there's no way I would go sit at a bar. You fucking crazy. Listen, look for an environment that you would be daring to try. For example, my sister and I just went to a book signing and book reading at a bookstore, and it was so amazing, you know. Look, so if you're into reading and books, look at different bookstores and check out their events and just show up to one. You know, you don't even really have to talk to anyone. Sit in the back and participate or just be a part of witness it. You know, same thing with libraries hold events, for community events. Like, so my point is, and even museums, like look for the world
That there's free stuff, right?
yeah, there's a lot of free stuff, and like just look for the world that maybe you have an interest in, and take those steps to get out, because we need more of that.
Absolutely. It says in a Pure Research study, it was discovered that 70% of social media users unintentionally consumed significantly more news than they intended because of targeted content feeds. This pattern has increased screen time and deepened the habit of compulsive scrolling. And now we're moving on to the statistics unveiling the impact of doom scrolling.
Well, should we just like skip some of these and just
Like that one.
well, I think that we just talked about, I mean, the World Health Organization, not that we
Now we're not that we're co-signing with them, but
not that we
according
trust
to
anything
them,
they say, but I think that, you know, what they, according to them, they you know, the rise in doom scrolling has coincided with 25% increase in reported cases of anxiety and related disorders globally, which, you know, I had just mentioned a few minutes back, and I feel like Nobody should be surprised by that. Nobody. I mean, all we got to do is just walk into a classroom of kids.
Yeah.
You know, you
And
see a lot
so
of that.
the impact on productivity and relationships, those who engage in excessive scrolling report a 30% reduction in workplace productivity. Yikes. Furthermore, the habit impacts personal relationships, with many individuals admitting they spend more time buried in their phones than engaging with their loved ones.
And we all have many examples of that, whether we're the ones not engaging or whether we're the ones upset that the other person's not engaging. But we know we've been on all sides.
True, and guilty. Um, and obviously, we know, and we've covered this, that what hasn't helped is it's not just obviously television, but just all social media. The way, let's say, that we're consuming, we're binging, like on platforms like on Netflix, like all of a sudden people are just like, I don't have time to go to that meeting or to do this community activity, but you just watched 6 episodes of the latest thing that came out on Netflix. I mean,
Yeah.
how many hours was that? It's not
a lot of hours.
and this is not about jobs. We love to do that too. It's just when you stack up your life and your week and then your month and then your year, where is all your time going? And is it helping or hurting your relationships? And if your answer is that is bringing you further away, then maybe it's like a little clue. I have to sort of look at some of these things. Obviously, we know advertisements play a role, right, at luring you to go into some of these places. But obviously, like a word that is hot right now is fatigue, and I think a lot of us have digital fatigue, and I have fatigue of watching just violence and people beating up and bullying on social media. It's just so much. Like, what is that doing to your psyche? If that's all you're watching, you may think that people are just like that, and there's a lot of beauty in nature and in people all around the world.
It's true. Listen, they say, like, there's a section here on solutions for combating doom scrolling in daily life. And, one of the things is suggesting that there's even like apps that help limit your time. If you're not being conscious of the time, that'll just limit it for you. Personally, I just feel like we are over consuming so many apps.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Like, we have to know how to do that for ourselves. Like, I feel like we are becoming too dependent on a machine in every capacity, and we keep losing our muscles for everything. Like, I remember being in high school, okay, high school, and having my math teacher, who, by the way, would make us use a pencil because he believed that back then people were already not using pencils. But anyway, that's another story for another day. And he would say to us, do you know how short is people's attention spans? Back then, what he used as the example? The remote control. He would say,
Wow.
people's attention span are as long as it takes you to grab the remote control and go click,
Click,
click.
click, click, click.
And I remember sitting there as a student and thinking to myself, oh my God, that's so, having this
That's the
moment,
truth.
that's so true. And my God, that's so awful. We're barely focusing a second. What's that, a second or 2 seconds? And now fast forward to this reality where how quick does it take to do this?
It's like bored. Someone is about to pour their heart and soul out to you on social media. You're like, bored.
Nothing.
Over it.
And so I feel like the
Wrong colors, wrong eye
I
color.
feel like an alarming, to me, what's even more alarming is not just the time you're wasting and when you could be doing so many things, or that so many of these things have affected your relationships, personal relationships, but very importantly, the relationship with yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, can you imagine, like, our ability to focus has decreased to such a level that most of us can't hold much or sustain much. That is disturbing on so many accounts.
I agree 1000%. To start wrapping out, some questions to consider, like why does doom scrolling feel so addictive? Well, as we said, like something that's incendiary, the clickbaity and negative and dramatic, that will just naturally get more attention. We're
So
just
true.
creatures of liking looking at attention, and
drama.
we love the drama.
I mean,
Um,
like, I mean,
and we've also conditioned, we're also in a
yeah,
conditioned society, like, the patterns, the algorithms, the programming all feeds to why we're in this.
sensationalism.
But as you're saying, and we're saying, there's ways around it, like taking tech breaks.
Tech breaks, and not stopping there, not just taking tech breaks. Go out of your
Oh, yeah, be with
environment,
nature.
because if your environment is what meaning, like when you're at home, or wherever you do the most scrolling, like if your environment is feeding that, then you have to pick yourself up and shift it to help you. It's like an addiction, right? Like, because this is an addiction. So
Yeah.
when someone, let's say, is trying to stop drinking because they're struggling with that, well, you know what, they're going to take themselves out of the bar.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a place they're going to be in, because they're going to be more susceptible. So
That's a good
maybe
point.
being in the home, if you're giving yourself a tech break that day, is also saying to yourself, you know what, let me go spend a few hours outside, just doing different. I'll hit the museum, go see a friend, just do something to begin to support the process of the break.
Of blooming.
Exactly.
Can it affect your physical health? Yeah. The eye strain, like how many of us, like our vision has been shifted a little bit, or has gotten worse, or it hurts, or we get like migraines because we're just staring at a screen that's so bright or so close to us. So eye strain, disrupted sleep, and a sedentary lifestyle related issues. So yeah, movement. We've told you this before. The location of this restaurant serves us in many ways. One way is that we're walking to and from this restaurant at least 20 minutes, and that gives us walking movement time, and we need that. We need so then we have a little walking, and we have a little socializing, eating, content creating. Check, check, check.
You do a few things, do something that can sort of check out a few things, and you don't feel like everything's work.
Right, and
know?
it doesn't feel overwhelming, because my sister and I, contrary to what some people might think, we don't see each other every day. We do not necessarily communicate every single day. We do have a lot of things that intertwine with one another, so we have to stay in constant communication, and we're always building and producing little projects. How does that continue to manifest? Well, time, practice. This has been happening already for 13 plus years, so you get used to the rhythm. But when you're starting something, it's going to feel fake or unnatural. So when Alex was telling you to just, as a suggestion, break your habit routine, go somewhere, it might feel weird to start doing that. There might be things playing inside your psyche, like, oh, like, who the heck am I? Like, who am I to even walk into that place? Or like, are people gonna look at me weird because I just showed up to this random book event? I mean, who cares, right? But like, these are things that could just be the natural part that wants to just be like, no, it's safer, it's just easier, or it's raining anyway, let me just stay indoors. There's always going to be a reason why you don't try something new.
It's true. Can't let yourself give in to the fears, or the you gotta also be honest. Like, when you're starting to build a new muscle, um, the what your body does know is not doing it. So that's the part that's gonna feel like it sounds the loudest. So up until that other part of you is kind of built up and pushing back, you may have to really try really hard. Like, honestly, when I have to, like, go work out, I have to really push myself. It doesn't always come natural up until I get into a rhythm. Then when I'm in flow, my body wants it. organically, you know. So we get it. We get it, folks. You got
Mi
this.
gente, you got this. We're covering this because we're struggling with some of this in our lives because hey, we're content creators. We're always fishing and scouring the social media for and the internet for ideas and things that we want to bring and learning and going to YouTube school. But sometimes we get caught up. It's okay. It's okay. Doom scrolling is already a part of a society. As we know, it's affecting our health, our relationships. Pero little tiny steps can change that.
And you know, I would heavily pray and ask everyone to do your best to try making those giant steps, because I feel like our humanity has taken a lot of steps backward because of all the doom scrolling that we all do and we're all guilty of in some capacity or the other. And it's just, above all, hasn't been so healthy. And I think for me, that's where I feel the most passionate about. I want us all to be at our strongest mind, body, and soul, in harmony with yourself. And I think that there's a lot to undo so that then we can figure out how to harmonize it in a healthier way and a healthier lifestyle, you know? Because you only get one vessel. We got to take care of it, mi gente. We have to.
I don't know about you, but I'm trying to live my best life in the way that I can, what I have every single day, even if the day freaking sucks. And we've had some challenging moments in the past X amount of years, but hey, get up, dust up, start again. It's a brand new day, it's a brand new life. We love
Ciao,
you.
familia.
Thank you guys. See you soon. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment below. We'll see you next time.
Ciao.